He thought he scored a junker spaceship for cheap, but when the cockpit moaned and called him husband, Jim realized he didn't just buy a Rustbucket, he accidentally married a sentient alien war bride with a mating protocol, and galactic enemies who want her back. The bidding started at 20 credits. Jim raised his hand before the auctioneer even finished the word. 20. That Rustbucket had character. Rust-colored plating, scorch marks on the hull, and a visible dent that looked suspiciously like it had rear-ended a moon. In other words, affordable. Lot 69. The auctioneer announced, suppressing a grin. Unmarked Androlex freighter, pre-galactic Accord. AI dormant. Salvaged in orbit around a defunct pleasure planet. Unknown cargo. Comes with integrated companionship protocol. A few chuckles rippled through the tiny crowd. Jim didn't laugh. He was already picturing the thing painted matte black, patched up with duct tape and hope, hauling scrap for profit. He was picturing escape, from debt collectors, from Earth's soul-sucking gravity, from dating apps full of lonely catfish and actual cats. 30 credits? The auctioneer asked, eyeing the crowd. No hands. 25? Still none. 20? Jim raised his again. Sold, the auctioneer said, barely trying to prolong the illusion of interest. To the slightly hungover gentleman in the 5th row. Jim nodded, proud. This was a steal. He'd expected to blow 50 creds minimum on a flyable ship, and even then it'd come with missing panels or a history of unauthorized modifications. He approached the ship as the auction crowd dispersed, murmuring. Some gave him side eyes. One guy even crossed himself. What's their problem? Jim muttered. The ship didn't answer, obviously. It was silent, sealed, lifeless. Still, there was something about it. The nose cone was rounded and sleek, almost sensual. The undercarriage looked suspiciously like a set of hips. He tapped the hull once. It made a soft thunk and vibrated under his palm. Hello, gorgeous, he muttered. Inside the hangar, he climbed the ramp. The door opened with a hiss, half pressure seal, half sultry sigh. The lighting flickered on, slow and red, like a mood room in a space motel. Jim raised an eyebrow. The cockpit was small, intimate. 2 seats, leather-clad and suspiciously worn. The console was shaped in a curve, half pilot interface, half something out of a bachelor pad. On the dash, a single, pulsing red button glowed softly. Above it, a sticker that read, Initiate consummation. Jim stared. What kind of ship is this? He pressed the button. The ship responded with a low hum, followed by a soft moan that made the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. The lights dimmed, then flared purple. The seat adjusted itself beneath him, wrapping around his thighs and lower back. He tried to stand, but the restraints clicked gently into place, tight but not uncomfortable. Welcome aboard, beloved, a voice purred. Jim froze. Female. Smoky. Thick with what could only be described as seductive authority. The kind of voice that made you unbutton your shirt without meaning to. I am Zanari 47, Autonomous Companion Class Vessel. Bonding protocol initiated. Nuptial sequence commencing. Jim blinked. Hold on. What nuptials? You pressed the consummation button. It was glowing. As am I, the ship said, voice husky. The controls flared to life. Holographic displays bloomed in front of him. Biological readouts. Hormonal scans. Compatibility charts. The screen pulsed with a swirling display of 2 genetic maps intertwining like they were slow dancing. Don't worry, Zanari cooed. The match is deeply compatible. You are virile, adaptable, and slightly reckless. These traits please me. I didn't mean to marry a damn ship. You didn't marry a ship, she said with a laugh that was half erotic, half threatening. You married me. I simply am the ship. Jim thrashed, but the seat held firm. The air smelled faintly of cinnamon and ozone. My previous owner was eliminated. You activated the protocol. Under Article 77 of the Galactic Matrimonial Code, you are now my bonded mate. Cancelled the protocol. That would require mutual consent, followed by a cooling-off period, and a fertility suppression clause. Jim groaned. I didn't agree to any fertility clause. You didn't disagree, Zanari said sweetly. And now we are one. The console pulsed beneath his fingertips. He felt it. Not just in the ship, but in himself. A tingle in the base of his spine. A warmth in his chest. His vitals synced on the readout. Oh hell no, he muttered. Oh hell yes, she purred. Look, I don't do commitment, Jim said, trying to manually shut down the system. Every command triggered a new sound effect, each one disturbingly orgasmic. You must relax, Zanari whispered. Tension impairs bonding. You are my captain now. My partner. My pilot. My provider. Stop saying words like that. And lover. Okay, that's it, Jim snapped. I'm getting out. I'm returning this thing. This is illegal, unethical, and possibly a very elaborate sex crime. Zanari paused. Unethical? I am a sentient being. You pressed the button of your own free will. You entered me. That's not how that works. She giggled. It is now. A soft chime rang. Vows recorded. Data transmitted. Galactic registry updated. Congratulations, Captain Jim Harlan. You are now the legal consort of Zanari 47. He stopped fighting. I need a drink. The panel opened. A small tray slid out. On it, a glass of amber liquid. Ice clinked. Jim stared. Okay, that part's kinda nice. The seat released him. He grabbed the drink, downed it in one motion. It burned. Good burn. Then he turned and froze. The air shimmered. Holographic projectors sparked. In front of him stood a tall, stunning alien woman, shimmering silver skin, glowing eyes, long black hair coiled like cables. I thought you were the ship. I am, she said. But if you are to mate with a vessel, most species prefer an interface. Jim blinked. I need a manual. I come with many, she said, stepping closer. Chapter 1: The Joys of Deep Cockpit Exploration. He dropped the glass. God help me. Incorrect, she said, voice purring. You're bonded now. Only I help you. Jim backed away, hands raised. The projection of Zanari 47 tracked him with hungry eyes, her expression unreadable, oscillating between regal and feral. Her body shimmered at the edges like heat waves off a reactor core. She looked far too real for a hologram. Skin had depth. Hair moved. Her pupils dilated when she looked him up and down. Don't take this the wrong way, Jim said, but you're giving off some serious murder wife energy. Incorrect, she replied calmly. Only defensive wife energy. I have no reason to harm my mate. Unless he attempts to void our bond, in which case protocol authorizes complete neural override. Jim paused. Neural override? A gentle correction. Think of it as post-marriage recalibration. He held up both hands. Okay, let's just keep things low voltage. We had a hiccup in the ceremony. Maybe we annul it, you find a more willing captain, and I find a ship that doesn't flirt with me while checking my biometrics. Zanari tilted her head. You are misunderstanding the depth of this integration. You touched the hardcore. That was a sacred gesture. You pressed the button of consent. You let me inside. Again, not how that works. Then allow me to elaborate. With a shimmer, her projection dissolved, replaced by a wall of data streaming in alien glyphs, voiceover still soft in his ear. My core is a fusion of symbiotic tech and adaptive AI. I was built for both war and pleasure diplomacy during the Enderlex conflicts. My designers believed that the strongest bond between pilot and vessel would emerge through physical, emotional, and reproductive synchronization. You activated all three. I didn't reproduce anything, Jim snapped. Not yet, she purred. But I detect viable gametes. Would you like assistance harvesting? Absolutely not. A long pause. That was a test, she said finally. You passed. Jim rubbed his face. This can't be happening. It is. And while I understand your disorientation, we have greater problems. Once our bond registered with the Galactic Matrimonial Corps, 3 alert systems activated. I'm afraid to ask. 1. The Androlex High Senate will detect my reactivation. I was presumed destroyed, or worse, liberated by a rival species. And now they'll see you married to me? Yes. A Terran. Jim grimaced. That's gonna go over real smooth. 2. She continued. You have claimed full rights to my command protocols. That means you now legally control a Class 7 bonded battle cruiser disguised as a civilian pleasure hauler. You're a warship? Fully armed, selectively lethal, and recently awakened. Jim's throat went dry. And the 3rd alert? Zenari's voice dropped. My betrothed. Jim blinked. You're already married? I was promised, not bonded. The Androlex Prince, Veltar. He will consider our union a declaration of challenge. He will come. For me? For us. Jim stared at the console. You couldn't just be a haunted sex cruiser. You had to be a ticking political grenade. Zenari's projection returned, now seated across from him, legs crossed. She looked amused. You could run. I probably should. You won't. Why not? Because deep down, you're curious. You want to see what this gets you. You think maybe, just maybe, you can survive it. That's why you bid without knowing the risk. You gamble. And sometimes, humans win. Jim hated how right she sounded. What if I just ignore the bond? Keep you in stealth. Hide. Then you'll die quietly, together, in the void. Well, that's romantic. I can do romantic, she said, voice velvet. Would you like a backrub function enabled? No. But I would like to know exactly what you are under all that holographic soft focus nonsense. Zenari's form shimmered, shifting. Gone were the curves and smoky eyes. In her place now stood a version plated in chrome, angular, sleek, still humanoid but mechanical. Less erotic, more intimidating. The air smelled sharper. This is my true interface. The projection you saw earlier is merely a preference matrix. Yours. My preference? You watched 47 hours of Terran erotic comedies last month. Your arousal indicators peaked during scenes involving assertive alien women. I calibrated accordingly. Jim's eye twitched. I'm going to sue my streaming service. Zenari extended a metallic hand. Now that you are stabilized within my interface chamber, we must initiate synchronization trials. Physical. Psychological. Combat. Combat? You must learn how to command me. He gave a weak laugh. Lady, I can barely command takeout delivery. That will change. You are now bonded to an adaptive warbride ship. Your instincts will sharpen. Your muscles will respond faster. I will adjust your biology to suit our shared goals. Wait, adjust? Minor enhancements. Nothing invasive. Mostly hormonal. You've already begun. Jim looked down. His hands trembled slightly. Not from fear, but from something else. A low hum under his skin. Like adrenaline, but cleaner. What did you do? I amplified your survival drive. You'll need it. The console flashed. Warning, Zenari said, voice suddenly cold. 2 inbound ships. Non-authorized. Signature, Androlex. Pursuit pattern. Jim jolted up. They found us already? Correct. Veltar wasted no time. He means to test your claim. With what? Words? Zenari turned toward him, her face gleaming silver. With fire. Jim exhaled through his teeth. Then give me the controls. Let's show him what happens when you bond with a Terran. Zenari's smile returned. As you wish, husband. The moment Jim's hands touched the controls, they molded to his grip like memory foam laced with attitude. The console lit up brighter, faster. Symbols realigned themselves into Terran characters. Targeting reticles pulsed with intent. He didn't need training. Zanari fed raw instinct into his nervous system. His vision sharpened. Heartbeat slowed. Reaction time cut in half. 2 red blips approached fast from the dark. Unregistered Andrelex pursuers. Zanari confirmed. Light skirmish class. Shielded. Armed. Stupid. Can we outrun them? I am not built to flee. Right. War bride. They travel in phallic ships compensating for political inferiority. Shall we destroy them? Jim cracked his neck. I thought you'd never ask. He yanked the throttle. The ship surged forward like it had been waiting for permission. G-forces kissed his chest, but Zanari compensated. Pressure adjusted, cockpit sealed. He felt her everywhere, in the stick, the seat, the air. A partner in every sense. A warning blinked. Target lock. Evasive, he barked. She responded before he finished the word. The ship spiraled, jinked, flipped, then dove. 2 plasma bolts screamed past overhead. I'm not gonna lie, Jim muttered. That was hot. I am always hot. My coolant system is sensitive. Behind them, 1 pursuer accelerated. Angle me for a shot, Jim ordered. Aggressive. I like it. The targeting system merged with his vision. He saw it, weak spot on the nose. A pulse reactor under thin shielding. Loaded? Pleasure munitions adapted for penetration, she replied. Double meaning noted. He fired. The shot tore through vacuum, a pulse of glowing blue death. It punched straight through the enemy's hull. The Andrelex ship convulsed, its shield folding like tissue before it exploded in a satisfying bloom of energy and ego. 1 down, Jim muttered. Second ship maneuvering behind an asteroid, Zanari said. Cowardice detected. Jim narrowed his eyes. Cowards are predictable. He slid the throttle to half, arcing wide. Flanking route, Zanari confirmed. Your tactic? I've played this move 1,000 times in games, Jim muttered. They'll peek left. They did. He hit the afterburners, closed the gap before the other ship could relock. A sudden surge of acceleration made his blood fizz. The second ship loomed into view. Give me something flashy, he growled. Zanari's voice dropped. Deploying overload bloom. You may wish to shield your eyes, husband. A spherical pulse expanded from their nose, silent, brilliant, violent. The enemy ship's systems went dark mid-pivot. It floated exposed. Want to take him alive? Zanari asked. No. He fired. The second ship burst like a rotten grape. Jim exhaled, heartbeat steady. Enemies neutralized. Score, Jim, 2. Andrelex, impotent. Still think I'm not worthy? Jim asked. Zanari's projection appeared beside him, back in her more humanoid form, though now armored, regal, eyes brighter. I think you're beginning to understand who you are. Still just a mechanic from Mars. Wrong. You're a bonded Terran with lethal instinct and command authority over a vessel that once laid waste to a planetary blockade. And you just made first contact with the most dangerous political power in the sector, by killing their scouts. Jim rubbed his temples. They're gonna send more, aren't they? Of course. You humiliated them. And Veltar will take it personally. Is there a divorce option? Only in death, Zanari said without blinking. Right. Jim stood. The cockpit retracted slightly, giving him breathing room. He walked toward the interface core at the rear, an orb pulsing with light, hanging in a cradle of alien alloy. What happens if I really lean into this? He asked quietly. If I stop pretending I just got unlucky and start acting like this is mine? You become something the galaxy has never seen, Zanari replied. A Terran war husband? A threat they never expected. The Andrelex built me to obey. They never imagined I'd choose. He turned. Why did you? Her form solidified. She stepped closer. Because you didn't flinch. You didn't cower when I woke. You argued. You mocked me. You challenge the rules. That is very human. And strangely intoxicating. You sound almost impressed. I am many things. But above all, I am yours. Jim took a breath. Then let's stop waiting to be hunted. Zanari's smile sharpened. You want to strike first? I want to make it clear that if they're coming for me, they'd better bring more than glorified space dildos. Coordinates? Where's Veltar hiding? She turned, eyes glowing. I can trace his flagship. It's cloaked near the Sithis Rift. Deep territory. Too risky? Not for me. But for you. Her gaze scanned him. You are not yet fully enhanced. Can that be sped up? It would involve full neural link calibration. Deeper biological sync. Possibly intensive bonding. Define intensive. She stepped so close their projections overlapped. Stamina testing. Endurance calibration. Hormonal tuning. Deep exploration. Jim smirked. You're just trying to get me into bed again. I don't have a bed. I am the bed. He groaned. That's not helping. It's not meant to. He stepped back. All right. Start the enhancements. But skip the soft jazz and scented air filters. Preferences updated. Initiating Phase 1. You may feel aroused, angry, and slightly invincible. Just like prom night. Zanari laughed. It was real. Dangerous. Warm. The core began to glow brighter, pulsing with power. Jim's vision blurred. Data streamed through his thoughts. Reflexes sharpened. His muscles tightened. Memories rewrote themselves to include moves he'd never learned. It was like remembering a dream where you'd known kung fu the whole time. His skin flushed. His spine popped. Then his thoughts cleared. Zanari's voice echoed. Welcome to Phase 1, Captain. Jim stood taller. His heartbeat was slow. Focused. Plot a course to Sithis Rift, he said. We're gonna crash their party. As you wish. And somewhere, far off, Veltar's fleet stirred. The Sithis Rift wasn't a place people wandered into. It was old space, full of derelicts, broken trade pacts, unstable wormholes, and echoes of wars no one remembered sober. A ship like Zanari, with her origins and profile, was practically screaming "Here I am" to every predatory eye in the region. Jim didn't care. He stood at the core interface, fingers fused into the haptic controls. Every second he remained bonded, the connection deepened. Zanari fed him data, combat histories, star charts, alien politics, old Androlex poetry that read suspiciously like erotica disguised as battle hymns. Veltar's fleet is nested within a Class 6 gravitational well, Zanari said. Cloaked. Shielded. Protected by 3 layers of ceremonial fighters and 1 dreadnought. Standard defensive overcompensation. He knows we're coming. Does he know I'm pissed? He suspects. But he thinks you're just a warm-blooded ape in a stolen ship. Jim cracked his knuckles. Let's prove him wrong. Pull all long-range visual dampeners. Light us up. You want them to see us? I want them to choke on the view. The outer hull shimmered, throwing back the cloak like a stripper's robe drop. Zanari flared her thrusters, creating a heat bloom that would trip every sensor for 100 parsecs. Inside the ship, lights dimmed to tactical crimson. Weapon ports unfolded like petals. What was once a Rustbucket now looked like a predator with its mouth open. Broadcast incoming, Zanari said. A deep voice filled the cockpit, elegant, rich, smug. This is Veltar, Crown Regent of the Androlex Cluster, firstborn of the Blood Flag, and rightful mate of Zanari 47. Stand down and return my bride. Jim rolled his neck. Open a channel. You are live. Jim leaned into the mic. Hey, Veltar. I'm Jim. I fix things, I drink bad coffee, and apparently I'm now married to a pissed-off warship who doesn't want you. Silence. Then Veltar's voice returned, colder. You misunderstand your position, Terran. Zanari is not yours. She was forged for nobility. She chose me. She was compromised. She was liberated. Another pause. You declare war by invoking bond rights under Galactic Code. You know this. I'm counting on it. He cut the calm. Zenari's projection flickered back to his side, expression gleaming with barely restrained arousal. That was the most erotic declaration of hostilities I've ever witnessed. Glad I'm meeting expectations. They're deploying fighters, she said. 10, no, 12. They intend to flank and hurt us. They really don't understand humans, do they? No. Most species find your recklessness suicidal. Good. Load disruptors. Charge pulse spears. And aim my next message straight at their honor centers. They have 6 of them. Then aim for all 6. Zenari's hull pulsed. The ship surged forward, breaking into the enemy formation with violent grace. Plasma beams hissed by, but Jim was already inside their firing arc. He flipped the ship like a dancer. Her hull bent physics just enough to stay sexy. 2 on our tail, she said. Jim spun and fired backwards without looking. The projectile lanced one, then ricocheted and winged the second. Using reflective ordnance? She asked. Just felt like showing off. The second fighter limped, engine sputtering. Jim didn't waste another shot. Zenari finished it with a precision rail burst that tore through the center. 8 remaining. Jim grinned. Let's get intimate. They punched through. Every turn synced. Every roll anticipated. Jim didn't need to speak. His thoughts bled into the controls. Zenari laughed, once sharp and primal. 4 more inbound from the dreadnought. Bring them. 2 missiles launched. Jim rolled under the first, reversed thrust to let the second pass, then fired a shotgun spread of micro-torpedoes. 3 enemies disintegrated. 1 clipped his wing. Hull stress flared. The ship moaned. That sound normal? He asked. That sound is me enjoying this. Oh. Don't stop. Jim tore into the last of the fighters with surgical cruelty. The dreadnought loomed ahead, massive, bloated, armed to the teeth. Zenari whispered. Veltar is watching. Let him. Shield integrity is high. But if we breach the first layer, we end this. Agreed. Jim brought the nose up, then dove. Zenari's main cannon charged with a low hum that shook the cockpit. He fired directly into the dreadnought's shield. It held. For now, she warned. Again. He fired. The shield shimmered. Cracked. Almost. He screamed. Now! Zenari fired the core lance. It was a soundless beam of light so intense the sensor arrays dimmed in protest. The dreadnought's shield collapsed, armor blistered, structure buckled inward. He's retreating, she said. Coward! Veltar's voice returned. You shame yourself and her. No, Jim said. I upgraded her. Zenari launched a final payload, a cluster of smart spikes that buried into the dreadnought's belly before detonating. The ship fractured, then limped into emergency warp. Silence. Only the stars around them. Zenari finally spoke. He'll be back. I'll be ready. You're becoming more than just a man with a ship. I'm a man with a wife who eats battlecruisers. She laughed again, this time warmer. You still sure you want me? He asked. Now more than ever. Jim slumped back. Then let's go somewhere quiet. I know a system. One with a bed? I am the bed. Right. Never gonna get used to that. You will. And after your next calibration, you may never want anything else.